Team Hotel, and I think we're good to talk to Dessie Farrell this morning. Dessie, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, Ger. Nathan, how are you?
Congrats. What was your night like?
The night was lovely, it was great. Couldn't wait to get to my bed either at the same time. It was one of those types of days, but no, it was lovely to spend time with family and friends and share a special period after a day like we had.
What was your experience with the match like? Because it was bloody tense for us as neutrals. I can only imagine how tense it was for you. What was the ebb and flow in your sense of it?
Yeah, it was. I think it probably went according to script. We knew it was going to be nip and tuck all the way. I'd hate to actually watch it as a spectator myself, because I can imagine what that was like, but when you're on the sideline and you're sort of trying to be on task and you're engaged, the brain is engaged and active in all sorts of different things, so the tension piece of it doesn't really hurt. You're still trying to figure out the puzzle and come up with different solutions to different challenges as you see them in front of you. So it's but it was just over and back, and I think ultimately we had that sense of belief that we'd get there at the end, and it materialised that way, thankfully. When
the Gainey goal goes in just before half time, a lesser team, a less experienced team, a team maybe who wasn't prepared for something like that, might find that to be a bit of a shock to the system, because you played quite well and contained them in that first half. So what's the conversation at half time like?
Yeah, the conversation at half time was positive. It's strange. So sometimes you might go in at half time in a lead or a comfortable lead, and it's a different type of conversation because you're not so happy with how the performance has been in the first 35 minutes. But actually at half time yesterday, we were happy with how we were playing defensively. Obviously, they have some huge threats up front, and even some of the defenders, their backs are very comfortable going forward. So there's a big emphasis on team defence and containing them. And we thought, although it was a sucker punch just before the half-time whistle to concede that goal, we thought defensively we'd done very well. I'm very happy with that, and just make some adjustments up front into our attacking game was what was required at half-time. And but we were happy with where we were at.
It's a good sign when there's such a debate about the man of the match that there was probably 4 or 5 different Dublin contenders who put their hands up. Mick Fitzsimon's very unlucky not to get it. I think everybody felt going in that Clifford gets 6 points regardless of what happens, and he ends up with 3. Can you talk about how you planned to contain him, both with Mick Fitzsimon's marking him but also as a defensive unit?
Yeah, it wasn't rocket science. We could get a sense from Mick Fitz maybe 10 days out that he was keen to take on that mammoth challenge in marking David Clifford, and to Mick's eternal credit, like the homework and the preparation and the in-depth analysis he done on all his opponents, but particularly for this one, is something to behold. And then there was a big emphasis on team defence, that it wasn't just going to be Mick's responsibility, it was everyone's responsibility to marshal a player like David, and the problem with that is it can open up the floodgates elsewhere. So we had to be fairly strategic in how we managed that it was Mick Fitz plus one other, not 2 or 3 others, and leave other Kerry forwards free and in space, and it was just being as compact as we possibly could. It worked very well in the first half for us. They had a period of dominance then in the second half where we seemed to be a little bit more open at the back, but I think we got on top of that again and kicked on from there.
And in the second half then, what was your sense of how that went? So obviously there was that period where Kerry were getting on top, and then in the final 10 minutes a couple of your big players start to find pockets of space or carry the ball for 60-70 yards and really just drive it at the heart of that Kerry defence. What was your sense of how the game was unfolding, particularly in those last 15 minutes?
Yeah, we sort of anticipated that it might open up a little bit more in the second half because, Kerry are renowned for obviously having some serious attacking threats. They're very good defensively themselves, have good structure, some really good one-on-one defenders. So we knew space and time was going to be at a premium, particularly in the first half, but that there may be opportunities that might start to open up a little bit in the second half. And, some of our fellas got that little bit of space to big turnover as well, which helped. Collie Basquel did brilliantly in terms of turning over a Kerry defender, which set up the goal for Paddy Small. And we spoke about it in advance that this game was going to turn on the big moments and try to win as many of those moments as you possibly could, particularly going down the stretch.
How enjoyable has it been to manage this group over the last 12 months in particular, as the old stagers returned, but as some of those new younger players also managed to begin to put their hand up for selection?
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. It's a great season. It's it's well renowned and well spoken about the older guys and the senior guys, and the types of individuals they are. Some special people, and then we had a lot of young players come in over the last 2 years. I think something like 22 in total in the last 2 seasons, and we just got a great blend going. The younger guys full of enthusiasm, energy, eager to learn. There were some really good student-mentor relationships developing within the group, and I think a lot of the younger guys, they really spark life into some of the senior guys as well, and having a bit of fun and a bit of crack is important along the way. But a lovely little bond seemed to emerge, and that type of a dynamic within the group, and then the other part of it is timing, of course. Different season, different format, competition structure, not an exact science. You got to trust your gut with a lot of these things in terms of when to push and when to hold back, and ultimately to be able to peak at the right time, which thankfully seemed to happen for us yesterday.
We've been doing a deep analysis on James McCarthy's wedding and what must have developed that night. Like, was it during James McCarthy's speech? Did he give a shout out to Stephen Cluxton and say, "You're my one true love"? Actually, please come back. How did that actually happen?
There's a lot of speculation around how those conversations materialised. Some of them may have happened at the wedding, some of them may have taken place before that as well. So, but look at it, they're great lads. They've great relationships themselves, and there's that special bond from, as you can imagine, from fellas who have soldiered as long as they have together. So it was great to see some of those more experienced lads who'd been away for some time come back, but it was always a case of the door was always open, and it was just whenever they were ready, and if that day came, we were delighted to have them back.
You also deserve a lot of credit for bringing Pat Gilroy on board. How did that all come about? Pat
and myself obviously played together over the years, and we have a great friendship and great relationship. Even when Pat won in 2011, I was with the senior team. I was the minor manager at that stage, and Pat was always a great assistant. And even though he was busy with a big job himself, he was always keeping an eye out for how we were getting on with the minor team. And the same with sort of under 21 teams over the years. He was always a great sounding board and a fella to have a cup of coffee with, or pick his brains on certain things, and that would have been the case over the last couple of seasons. And then at some stage this season I said, sure, why don't you give us a little bit more of a dig out, and he started coming out to some of the sessions and being around the great place, and he's been brilliant. His experience and just the type of man he is. He's was great to have his input and support all season.
Can I just ask about those quieter moments you had last night with your family and friends? Because it's a tough gig being the Dublin manager. You win a game in Leinster, you don't win it by 10 points, you get stick. You draw at Roscommon earlier in the championship, you're getting stick for that. It's sort of relentless, the level of expectation that is there. There seemed to be a sense watching you on TV last night of just relief. Can you talk about actually getting that time to yourself and actually being able to sit down and maybe have that first moment of contemplation of what you've achieved?
Yeah, it's and it is just the first moments, because there's a lot going on at last night's event, and I think it's probably over the next couple of days that we'll get actually some quieter time and quieter moments to be together as a group ourselves, and I'm looking forward to those moments and those conversations. They're a great crew, as I mentioned. Special affection for them. The service that some of the senior lads have given to Dublin football over the years it's unquantifiable. And then I've been very privileged to have worked with some of these men now when they were kids, and I've seen them grown from young boys to young men over the course of the last 10-12 years, and a very privileged position to be in. So it's I'm delighted for them. They're a great crew, and they deserve that yesterday.
Have you thought about what's next for you yet?
No, I haven't. I have a cup of coffee here beside me, and that's definitely the next thing. No, look, there's some of the players obviously are going to be in that position as well, where they need to make some decisions, and yesterday, today or tomorrow isn't the time for that. I think everyone will take time to reflect on what's next for them, and we'll see how that all unfolds in due course.
Yeah, well, I think everybody will give you whatever space you need to make whatever decision you want to make, because that's the benefit of having this little bit of breathing space and moment for reflection. This is obviously very different from winning your first time with the group. This is like the full board. It'll be a homecoming. You'll be able to go out and meet people and fully enjoy it. It's like a very different experience, I suspect, from the first one that you won as manager.
Yeah, definitely. The first one we won back in 2020. The post-match celebrations were quite muted, as you can imagine. We went back to Parnell Park, and it was just players and backroom team only, no partners, no families, and that was lovely and special in its own way. But yesterday was very different, and it was a delight to have family and friends around, and to be able to share that special time.
How does it compare with winning as a player?
It's very, very different. As a player, you're just solely focused on yourself and getting yourself right. As a manager, there's much more responsibility, and it's actually, there's nothing like playing, as you can imagine. But it's definitely a privileged position to be in, to work with players like this, and just delighted for them all.
Well, listen, enjoy your coffee and whatever comes next, Dessie. Congratulations. Cheers.
Thanks, lads. Thanks a million. All the best.
It's Dessie Farrell giving us some thoughts there. Paul, it is a stunning achievement from Dessie's perspective to face down the criticism that he faced in the last couple of years, to get the band back together, to convince them that it was the right thing to do, and then to reintegrate them into the team in a seamless manner, because it can't be easy to bring those lads back and to manage that whole thing properly.
Yeah, look, I think Dessie comes out of this with fantastic credit. He explains it away in a very gentle manner there in relation to Pat Gilroy coming back on board. But like Dessie would have assessed, like they were so close in the last 2 years to getting over them semi-finals, but yet they didn't. And looking at some of the guys who maybe started last year, sort of the next wave of players that was coming through. Lorcan O'Dell started against Kerry last year. Tom Lahiff played. A lot of them guys didn't get game time in the crunch moments this year. And Dessie probably looked and said, we are just a bit short. And then whatever conversation took place to get the three lads back.
Well, let me hold you there again. Sorry, Paul, because we'll get to that. We've actually got Brian Howard with us now as well. Brian, good morning to you. How's the head?
Oh, fresh as the daisy.
Are you? Yeah.
To go again.
How sweet was this one?
There was something a little different to this one. Just that bit sweeter than the other past few years. But I know every All Ireland is obviously amazing, but you always treasure the most recent one, and especially when you've missed it for 2 years, and you sort of, as I mentioned, you don't sort of realise what you got till it's gone sort of mentality. So I know it was amazing getting back up those steps. It was a special day.
When, as the year unfolded, did you begin to think, actually, hang on a second, with everybody who's come back and with the younger players starting to put pressure to make sure that everybody's at it, that you were at the same level that you've been at in previous years?
Yeah, and it was a strange one enough for me this year in terms of I probably missed a lot of the pre-season doing a bit of travelling, but I came back in a bit in December, but mostly in February I came back and I was blown away with the standards that were there from the older cohort, but also the younger lads, what they were pushing on, and they were making the standards. They were the standard bearers, and coming back into such a competitive squad, it was amazing, and that's when I sort of knew this is our year. And we were obviously at the league. It wasn't an easy sail by any means. It was a tough battle throughout the league, but we sort of knew something was brewing, and thankfully we hit a bit of form in the last couple of games, and we were able to get over the line.
We've seen the likes of Paul Mannion and Jack McCaffrey take extended breaks. For you, how important was it to take even those few months to go travelling to sort of recharge the batteries and come back in with a fresh mindset?
Yeah, it was, and look, I did come in. I came in rejuvenated and ready to rock, but the hunger was always there for me, and it was something. It was just a time in my career that I said I'd do a couple of weeks travelling, but I came back in, and the lads were in just such an amazing spot, and it sort of inspires you and motivates you to be the best player you can be, and thankfully that was enough to get out onto the pitch. But in fairness to the lads that have been putting in the tough yards, it wasn't an easy pre-season by any means, and to see even by the end lads bursting up forward and getting on the end of scores, just digging in deep, it paid dividend, all the hard work that was done in the early times of the year.
Your own role has obviously evolved. You've basically played everywhere from, it seems, 5 to 12 at various stages, even in matches. So what was your role over the last couple of games in particular?
I was just playing. I was playing that wing back and sort of protecting the lads inside. It wasn't a set position by any means. It was just sort of, thankfully against Mayo, when you get the lead, you have the license just to sit back and you don't have to offer too much going forward, because the only way to get back into it is with a goal. But just sitting back and probably getting on more kick-outs, being a kick-out option more than anything else, and a transition player. But it was nice I started off a bit ropey yesterday with a wayward left-footed shot, but it was nice to get on the scoreboard as well, because when you see like Lee Gannon, Owen Murch and John Smalls beside you, and they're getting forward every chance they get, and when you're not getting those opportunities, it's nice to be on the end of something.
And the relationship you have with Stephen Cluxton on the kickouts is obviously incredibly important to the team. How do you practice that? Like, is that you actually at training sessions working specifically with him, or is that just kind of planned on the notice board? How does that work?
Yeah, like obviously there's a lot of work that's done on the training ground, and when you see a player win the kick out in space, it's credit to the other lads around. They've created the space, they've got out of the way, stuff like that. But Stephen, he'd be able to pinpoint anything in terms of kick out. So he's all you have to do is make a run. He puts in the bread basket. So look, yesterday it was just one of those days that sort of worked out for me in terms of kick outs. I was able to get on a few, but to Stephen and the other keepers, they've set the bar. They've literally made it to, you just make a run, they put it in your chest. So look, it was nice to be on the end of it, but it's credit to the other lads being able to create the space and make you the hero, as you say.
A lot of the players have spoken about the influence of the younger guys, because I guess we're focusing so much on the players that have won 9, but the likes of Lee Gannon, first All-Ireland, Cormac Costello, first starting in All-Ireland. Not every player in that panel has 9 All-Irelands, and for the last couple of years, I'd imagine for those guys it's been very difficult being in the shadows and the constant conversation of this great Dublin team that maybe people felt was gone.
Yeah, and when you look, you see 9 All-Irelands, but you think there's a lot of lads in that group that have 0, like Lee Gannon, Darren Newcombe, Ross McGarry, stuff like that. But when you have that sort of experience with the hunger of the younger lads, coming through, it sort of creates a special bond and a special unit. And yesterday was just epitomised it in terms of the hunger still there from the older lads, and like sort of Mick Simons, James McCarthy, they're sort of hitting their prime at 35 years of age. So yeah, the younger lads, they're hungry than ever, and they're ready to go again.
Do you think everybody's going to go one more time? Are you like already saying, come on lads, let's do this, this is pretty good?
Yeah, and now in fairness, nobody's asking those questions to the older lads. It's a time of celebration, but in the back of their heads they're probably like, I have one more year left. And I played with them for a good number of years now, so I'll be whispering in their ear, come on, one more year. But I will see. I don't think they've made a decision on whatever they're doing.
What's the plan for today?
So back to bed now for the next while, but now going to the hospitals now in the next few minutes, and then into Smithfield for the homecoming. So another special day ahead.
Well, listen, enjoy it, Brian. Congratulations, stunning performance. Well done.